name is Nadia, as Shankar just said. I also have another name, Sangita. That's because I was born in Nepal. There's a map there, I don't know how well you see it. Does anybody know what the capital of Nepal is? Kathmandu, wonderful. We have a lot of great geographers in this room. So geography is about learning about capitals, of course. But this, as such, doesn't bring much to sustainable development. So we'll look at some other features of geography. When my parents said they would go to Kathmandu, their Swiss friends thought, oh, well, hippies. Well, my parents weren't hippies, but that was the image that was associated with Kathmandu at the time in the Western world. Nowadays, when you say you go to Kathmandu in Europe, they think of Tamil, the touristic district of Kathmandu. But for the Nepalese people living there, Kathmandu is just a very normal city where you live and work. According to your socioeconomic status, you can spend time in wonderful supermarkets or not. All this is Kathmandu. Okay, so there is one place, different meanings, different realities. And this is one feature of geography that is interesting for sustainable development. Let's look why. You have a rainforest. This rainforest is managed in a very different way if you are an indigenous folk living in it and meeting your basic needs, or if you are a logging industry trying to maximize your economical profit. And the impact you will have on space is very different according to how you relate to this forest. So this is one contribution of geography to sustainable development. Another one. I was born in Nepal, but I'm actually living in Switzerland. You know, country of Heidi. Well, if you look at a map of the Swiss population density, you see quite quickly that most of the population actually gathers in a quite thin stripe of land. Why there? Well, because it's the only flat land we have in Switzerland. So actually looking at geographical patterns shows you that there are not that many Heidis in Switzerland, because we all live in cities. Geography also looks at processes. Here you see, between the red dots, which are cities, there are still quite a lot of green spaces. That's the countryside. That was in 1850. If we come back more or less today, these green spaces have disappeared because there was a strong urbanization going on. If this goes on, Switzerland might look like this in every flat land they have. Is this what we want? Is this sustainable development? So looking at geographical patterns and processes allows to identify unsustainable practices and to question this evolution over time. Last example showing the contribution of geography to sustainable development. Natural hazards. You have a tsunami crashing on a touristic infrastructure. Physical geography looks at how the tsunami works. Human geography looks at why there is a touristic infrastructure there. Geography mingles both physical and human aspects. It has this holistic view that is central to sustainable development, and it allows to tackle complexity. It also allows to ask critical questions, such as, well, actually, why have the mangroves that could have protected the shoreline have been destroyed? So looking at this human-environment interrelations is a central contribution of geography to sustainable development. In order to help textbook authors to tackle this potential of geography for sustainable development, we have developed a tool that looks like a spider web. Here you have important features of geography that can contribute to sustainable development. And the idea is that it should help textbook authors not to forget about these and to have like a checklist when developing their textbook. The textbook, of course, is not only about content. It's also about imagining tasks. Here you have an example of an existing textbook looking at the consequences of increasing mobility. This specific task looks at the impacts of building a new road. In the color bubbles here, you have the perspective of different actors impacted by this new road, positively or negatively. Learners are required to transfer this content into this grid here, looking at advantages, disadvantages for each concerned actor. It's also the idea that they think, is this actor speaking for him or herself, or do they represent a wider group in case of the NGO, for example? So this grid shows the tensions between individual interests and also between individual interests and collective interests. And it helps fostering a systemic view of a situation and look at where some problematic points can be. The second part of the tasks requires learners to take a stand. They have to decide, am I in favor or not of building a new road? And they have to argue. So it's not a matter of saying yes or no, which is right or wrong, but it's a matter of arguing your point. And in this kind of tasks, you train citizens, actually, also, contributing to the participatory nature of sustainable development. You could go even further, looking at what is the root of the problem. Why is mobility increasing? And correspondingly, you could think of alternative solutions. Do we really have to build a new road? Or could we implement a car-sharing platform, for example, so that not everybody travels alone in their car? So in the textbook, you can add future scenarios and ask learners to choose amongst those, based on the knowledge they have built during the chapter. This is a second spider web, second part of the tool, that helps textbook authors create geographical tasks along ESD pedagogical principles, such as critical thinking, reflecting on values, and so on. They can try to fill this, and it's to use like a compass. Where am I? Do I tackle these issues or not? So this is a tool done in two parts that are, of course, interrelated, because content and pedagogy have to mingle in order to look in the same direction towards ESD. The team that has worked on this is composed of 6 persons. You have Ashish Shah, he's Indian, working in India. Glenn Chickering from the US, working in Indonesia. Stefano Malatesa, Italian, working in the Maldives. Yamuna Suni, she's Indian, working in India. Myself, Nadia Lausselet, Swiss and working in Switzerland. And Bhagirathi Jingran, Indian, working in Kenya. So it's a mix of people in different places. And we hope that helps textbook authors to take a step towards sustainability in their work. Thanks for your attention.